I think you'll all agree that while the weather today is disappointing, this project is the most wonderful success and a very tangible expression of our City of the Arts.
This project has been an example of how the community and the council can work together to produce the permanent sculpture park that we now have in this as part of this wonderful place here in Wentworth Falls. It's the first of its kind in the Blue Mountains.
And the project was so well designed by Gabriella Heggis and the team that with the assistance of Duke Cook, the production of the catalogue and the environmental kit also means the project will have long-lasting educational value about our City of the Arts and our Blue Mountain City within the National Park.
What a great privilege it is to be here today, to share in the opening of the Wentworth Falls Lake Sculpture Project. This is an inspired event that celebrates not just the talent and enthusiasm of the skilled artisans involved, but also the spirit of the bush in the Blue Mountains. Looking at this great gathering today reminds me of other collectives of people who over time travelled sometimes long distances to appreciate and enjoy and be sustained by this very place. We acknowledge the traditional ownership of the Aboriginal people who journeyed through time and space to first gather in this valley many thousands of years ago. Here they found a great abundance of resources in the diversity of the vegetation communities that clothe the land.
I guess I do want to pay tribute here to Gabriella Heggis, whose idea this project was. It's had a very long gestation period, this project. I remember her talking about it when I met her in another context in 1995, and she was then plotting ways to get these big blocks of sandstone moved. So it has been a very long gestation period.
I really thank very much John Allison, first of all, after Superporn, whose original instigation this project actually started. She approached me when I was teaching at a community college and said, "Oh, can you do some sculptures for this botanical garden?" And I said, "Oh yeah, why not?" So we started a project like that, and unfortunately it had to halt. So therefore the stones were sitting there for a long time, and that's why it's taken so long. And then finally, with the help of John Allison, who pushed me towards the City of the Arts funding, I'm not saying that he was singling me out at all, but we had 16 sandstone blocks sitting there doing nothing, and Claver wanted to get rid of them. So we basically brought them here, which was a fair, it's about a year and a half ago. And unfortunately, it took a long time because most of us, or everybody, including me, were doing this voluntarily, so therefore we could only do it on the weekends when it wasn't raining, which wasn't very often in the past year.
In 1996, the New South Wales Government nominated the City of the Blue Mountains as the inaugural City of the Arts in recognition of its active arts community.
As I've said, one of the reasons the City of the Blue Mountains was chosen for the inaugural program is the high level of local activity already occurring and the fact that cultural planning is well advanced. It's crucial that these efforts be supported.
It gave $300,000 towards the City of the Arts.
To rival the success that you've made of the first City of the Arts project. So I'd like to ask Bob Davis now to help me present the cheques to successful applicants. Yep.
However, the gardens are taking so long to take place that we decided that I might put a funding in to take it to Wentworth School of Arts. The 16 sculptures are made out of sandstone from the Yellow Rock Quarry, and they represent the Australian native seed pods native to the Blue Mountains. So it's going to be like an educational type of sculpture park rather than just
The Wentworth Falls Lake Sculpture Project was one of many diverse arts projects given seed funding during 1996-1997.
My name's Robin Austin. Been working on the project for about a year, or just over a year now. Yeah, it's a long process.
My name is Vicky Skeen. I started on the project 5 years ago. Then it was put on the back burner for a number of years while it was relocated from Clairvaux to here. And I've been working on it a further year since they arrived here.
My name's Katrina Peter. I'm doing the Personia debunk. But this has been my major project for stonework. I mainly work a lot of acrylic resin is mainly what I specialise in. Well, yeah, at least not annoying me personally. But
we're changing the design from a Pittosporum to a Xanthorrhea, which is a grass tree, and it's a fairly different shape because it's actually a considered not a pest, but a weed around this area by the bush regenerators. So to stop having any antagonism, all but out here changing into another form, but it's much harder. It's just a grass tree. See, so it's fairly different to the original one. It's right out shape. You can actually see the actual textures of them. And it's just so hard because it was a very rounded form, now it's a very pointy form.
Yeah, I'm Max Skeen and I was helping my wife on hers, and now I've become Gabriel's labourer on this job.
Put some thought into it. In the bushes. What's this little kid? My name's Alexis, Apple Farm, and I've been working on it for a bit over a year now, because we're the second lot of people who are working on shift of people who've been working on them. And yeah.
So how come you got two pieces?
Well, the rocks actually came. They were broken. It was going to be one long piece, and they were broken. So I actually had to end up doing two rocks.
What's your name? What's your name?
It's Peter. Yeah, Peter.
Peter who?
Peter Bears.
Thank you.
Michelangelo in between, I think. So this one was started today, and that one was up there was started a while ago, a few months ago. So I've finished the one I've been doing, and then working on this for Gabriella.
Oh, so you've had two?
Yeah, I've been nominated to have two.
Oh.
See, that's what you get when you've got a big grinder.
When did you start?
Well, the one over here was started a few months ago that I was working with my daughter on, and then this one I've just started today with Gabriella to try and get it into some sort of shape.
Changes of artists, where there's been only a few, 2 or 3 or 4 artists who have remained on the project right through. But it's been a good new injection of energy and inspiration, and which was required, seeing it was over a 4-year period.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's quite a long time, isn't it, to do work on a sculpture?
Incredible. It doesn't really take 4 years to make it, but it was due to the project took a lot longer than one first thought. And the students, there was lack of interest, but there was also funding ended. But in the end, it's turned out to be a project that looks worthwhile, and it will be enjoyable to a lot of people in this park. And I think this is the best location for the pieces, but also for the public. I like the angle that it's near the water, and also the project being seed pods. It's the beginning of life, you could say, for the trees and the shrubbery.
Not anymore. Photography is too expensive.
It's an expensive hobby.
Yes, it is.
Sounds bloody video, I tell you that.
Yeah, is it? I can imagine it would be.
It's much harder on the outside. Alright. We'll chip that in there, and then I'll get the little one as well as the big one.
Yeah.
On the cutting wheel. I might just do some with the little ones. So.
Yeah, right.
But that's already much better, but now you can see that it really needs to go down.
I've been nearly working on this for 5 years, almost 5, since the project started. Actually, it was to do with the sculpture group at the Katuba Day and Evening College, when our coordinator, Gabriella, had this commission. And from there we went onwards. And
where did you first go?
To Clevo site, and we stayed there, I think, for almost 6 months, and then we had a break as we couldn't work there anymore, and then our coordinator had to find another place, so the sculptures were staying there idle for quite some time, until we got the site at Wentworth Falls.
And you have actually worked on the site there too?
Yes, I started working on the site there.
Were you the only one?
No, there were 16 of us.
But already working there on it?
Yes, 16 people in the group, and each one had different pod. I had a rather small stone, which I've been trying to make out of a smaller big stone. And it's been a very interesting project. These pods, mine is Banksia serrata, of course using artistic license.
All the sculpture pieces are carved out of paving sandstone, taken out of yellow rock quarry at Winmalee.
20 minutes forward.
You're a bit late. You're a bit late, aren't you?
We're up to almost the last 4.
So they'll be all in today?
Yep. Looks
What
like
happens
now,
later
yeah.
on? What happens then?
Then the people actually work on them to complete them on site to make sure that everything's all right and fits the site perfectly. And then we'll put the slabs in with the drawings. So hopefully we do that next weekend. We'll start putting some of them in by next weekend.
On a job. We were there for 3 days and we couldn't get it, so to bring Robbo's up. We were on another job with the other crane and eventually we got here.
That's all right. The main thing is it's all going all right.
Robbo's very upset.
So basically we got here and I'm very, very pleased to actually be a part of this project apart from instigating it, because I do love native plants about as much as I love sculpture. And I never seemed to amaze me how beautiful the Australian bush is. And me being an introduced species myself, I really totally against the European stuff. So, so I hope everybody's gonna enjoy it. And please climb all over it or sit in it, it's quite fine. They make quite good swimming pools. We have the catalogue.
Legendary sculptor Henry Moore said, "Sculpture is an art of daylight. There can be no substitute for viewing the works in changing light or wet with rain." Moore much preferred sculpture in the landscape to that placed in an architectural setting. He liked sculpture against the jumble of nature, but said the really foolproof background is the sky. Certainly, the lakeside affords the viewer the chance to see the pieces juxtaposed against the background of water, vegetation and sky. This is the place to contemplate art, in the natural tranquility of the Blue Mountains. Increasingly, the display of contemporary sculpture, whether figurative or non-figurative, can be found in sculpture parks or gardens like this.
Right, so I think you can't rub the name either. Right, so we're going to try a number of different plaques. This one might not work so well, but there might be some other ones that work a little bit better. There's what I got. I think that the lead pencil works a little bit better here. So we've got the texture of the flower. Okay, questions?
What you should be doing is having a look at the sculpture from where you're sitting and looking at the lovely lines in the sculpture and trying to draw your interpretation of the sculpture. You also need to come and have a look at the plaque down here on the ground. It's got the botanical drawing of the seed and the seed pod. And you need to do a careful rubbing with your pencil so that you get a drawing on your paper from that as well.
Which way do we do it?
You can do it whichever way you like. It's up to you. You can move around the sculpture and have a look from a different position. There's lovely organic lines that you can follow with your eye and try and reproduce those on your drawing. Why did I break the pencil?
No, it's a seat.
She's got that lovely curling.
Where's the seat pod?
You can take a little clipping of it back and put it in your bag. Who hasn't got one? Yeah, there's two there. Oops.
That was a good choice actually, that works a lot better. This one here. So there's some areas of the plaque that'll work a little bit better. You need to find it. I think that one's the one, so I might do that over.
Okay, everybody should get their drawings back so you know which one is yours, and we're going to use that as an inspiration. Make sure you get your drawings back. Yeah? Okay. We also want you to take 2 more sheets of paper, all right? So you want to hand them out. I'm going to tell you in a minute.
Where's Elise gone?
Everybody good?
Elise.
She's there.
Shorty?
Good. Just make sure you're ready.
Hands up if you don't have 2 new pieces of paper.
Okay, do you know how we've got all these blocks on the tarpaulins here? The large blocks belong to the schools. So basically it's 10, depending how many children. Are you from Wentworth Falls? Yeah, how many have you got here? 10, okay. So 10 per that school, and it's Katoomba and Lyra Public. So they're getting the large blocks, and each kid has 1 block to draw on, and then we assemble it at your school in the next couple of weeks. Those of you who are individual kids that enrolled in just individually, you get a little block over there. You see those ones? That means that you can take that home, okay? So what I want to do now is actually do some collage, but instead of just doing plain paper and cutting, I want you to draw your inspiration of the flower or the seed or the plant or the sculpture quite large onto the paper, and then we use tissue paper and wallpaper paste to layer the colours of them. So you have to think about what colour is the flower or each of those seed pods. Most of the colours are fairly creamish and whitish, but you can invent your own colours, okay? The idea is that you lay a couple of pieces of tissue paper over it, top of each other. There's little brushes here. This is glue. Do you know these glues? Sit back a little bit. Now, it should be enough brushes here for everybody. That's right. So we put it on like that, and then we're going to do the carving afterwards. So in about half an hour, we should be able to get a nice collage drawing, can't we? Everybody?
1, 2, 3.
I first met Gabriella Hedges, I think in 1992, shortly after I came into council. Gabriella came in looking for the cultural officer, and she was having an exhibition at the time. I agreed to open her exhibition, and I straight away realized that she was an extremely talented artist in her own right. She'd been exploring the Australian inland with her husband Andrew at the time, and had done a number of paintings and sculptures based on her explorations of Australia. Later on, I realized that she was a teacher, and I met many of her pupils. I often think to myself that what the world is most in need of is inspired teachers, and Gabriella is certainly one of those most inspirational teachers. She motivates her pupils remarkably. This sculpture park here is a result of her getting together a crew of pupils, first of all, in her sculpture class, to do sculptures based on organic forms, more precisely the seeds and seed pods of our natural plants. This particular sculpture is based on the swamp grevillea. It's fascinating to me how the forms that are suggested by the seeds of these native plants can also suggest other organic forms. This is like a snail shape, as you can see, looking out towards the water. This is a very imposing sculpture right on the water's edge, and the water making a beautiful background to it. It's interesting how these small, minute forms, which are based on seeds and seed pods, when you enlarge them, blow them up, they become very, very powerful, imposing shapes. This one suggests an egg shape, also a cleft form, a shell of some kind, and the whole thing works together in a very, very harmonious way, again with the natural environment. They're peaceful forms, and they invite people to embrace them, to feel the rough texture, and to actually participate with the sculpture in a tactile way. and not just in a visual sense.